Hello, everyone. Welcome to the SavvyCast. This is Jamie, and I'm delighted that you're joining us today, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening to the podcast. Today is going to be a very informative episode for anyone who buys groceries, which would be all of us. And I'm joined with a very old and dear friend of Zane's and mine. He and his wife we're very close to them. Gerry D'Alessandro. Gerry, go ahead. You're here. I want to welcome you.
Thank you, Jamie. Glad to be here.
We've known Gerry and his beautiful wife, Michaela, for over a decade. And Gerry has become very successful in the grocery world. And anytime I have a question that is grocery store related, I text Gerry. And some of the info that I've gotten, I'm like, I've got to share this with some of my people because it's amazing. He truly is behind the scenes and an insider in the world where most of us get our food. Gerry, can't wait to chat with you. I always start first with an icebreaker question. Same question for everyone. What would you choose as your last meal?
Ooh, my last meal. I would probably do a surf and turf combo, filet mignon, and lobster roll.
Mmm, that's right up my alley. That sounds wonderful. Okay, well that's a great one. Okay, and Gerry, you're at the beach?
Yes,
Okay. We're very excited about coming to stay in y'all's house in a few
absolutely.
days. I'm very excited. Everyone, Gerry, could you just tell everyone exactly what it is that you do and how you got there?
I am owner of Fresh Value Supermarkets based out of Birmingham, Alabama. We're all in the state of Alabama, from Athens to Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Montgomery, Trussville, several places in between. We just opened our 16th location, or our 15th location in West Point, Mississippi, a couple weeks ago. Number 16 will be opening in Summerville, Alabama, in a couple weeks. So I'm a fourth generation grocer. The first store that I bought was about 11 years ago. I bought it from my dad and uncle. I grew up working for them. And after graduating college, working with them a few more years, I bought the location that they owned, and since have started buying other stores from other independent supermarket operators, as well as taking over some former locations from Winn-Dixie, Food World, Save a Lot, and similar chains like that.
So you said independent grocers is
Mhm.
so Fresh Value would be an independent grocer as opposed to a franchise. Is that correct?
That's right. Yes.
And can you just, for those of us who aren't that business minded, what's the primary difference between an independent grocer and a retail chain, or is
Yeah.
it
So the larger
franchise?
chains like Walmart, Publix, Whole Foods, Kroger, places like that, versus more family, locally owned type businesses. And the main difference that you're going to find in an independently owned supermarket versus a chain is simply the level of care and customer service that you'll get at an independent. That personal touch just usually isn't there with chains.
Well, what I want to start off with something that I did not intend to start off with, but it's in the news. It was a few days ago. It made the news because Whoopi Goldberg informed the world, or whoever watches her, that grocery store owners are pigs. So, can you tell me from a pig perspective, is she right? Are you all who own grocery stores trying to price gouge to get the most you can out of consumers to leave them in the dire straits that some people have found themselves under this administration?
Yeah. So, great question, Jamie. I think she was referring to the fact that grocery prices are much higher now than they were pre COVID, like most things. And it's definitely not due to supermarket owners price gouging. Um, you know, it's a very unfortunate situation, but everybody's costs have gone up since COVID. And Whoopi Goldberg was trying to place blame on supermarket owners, but that's just really not the case. Our costs have gone up as well, and the supermarket industry operates on very thin profit margins, and we have to do a lot of volume in order to make money. So, a lot of people took it personally because supermarket employees were called heroes during COVID. If you remember, everybody else
Mhm.
was at home when they were on the
Right.
front lines dealing with, a lot of customers, a lot of stress, a lot of problems, and now she's villainizing them. And we pass on, our margins are very low. We pass on any cost increases that we get from suppliers, as well as, our labor costs are up and everything is just up. And, there's definitely no price gouging going on, and we're certainly not pigs.
Well, Jerry, let's just get down to the fun and practical things. When I text you, it's usually because I'm buying meat or produce, something that it really matters, the quality. Our last text, I can't remember, I was buying, oh, my fresh market is gone. It's moved away. And that's where I bought all of my meats. I said, Jerry, where are the best places to buy meat? Can you go now? The listeners and viewers are all over, so it's not just Southeast United States, but let's just take the US and the major places people shop. And can you give us first of all, give us an overview of how the process works, whether you're independent or retail, like a franchise? Is the process similar?
Yeah, so the process is similar. Most companies have a central warehouse facility or multiple warehouses, and product is ordered from manufacturers, farmers, goes into the warehouse. From there, the warehouse distributes it to the various locations. But obviously, if you're in the Birmingham metro area, shopping at Fresh Value is a great option. But if you're looking for chains, outside of Alabama, whether you're in New York, Texas, wherever. I think one of the local places in New York that's become a pretty large chain is Wegmans. They're known for
Mm.
their fresh meats, produce, and then if you're in Texas, you've got like HEB, Alabama, Publix does a great job. There's obviously Costco, which you can find everywhere in the country, and Costco is a great option too.
So all of those that you just mentioned have warehouses that are housing all of the products that they buy. Are they getting them from different vendors, farmers? Are there that many different ones out there?
So when you look at items found in center store, your canned goods,
Mhm.
rice, beans, things like that, those are pretty much all coming from the same places, from Campbell Soup Factory or whatever.
Oh.
So those are all coming from the same places, direct to the warehouses. Now, produce is definitely more regional, and so produce is, I know there's a big push on it that it's like local, and people want local produce. Well, produce has been local anyways for a long time. It's kind of more
Oh.
of a marketing term. I mean, if you're looking, if you're in the southeast, like your watermelons are coming from the southeast. It just doesn't make
Mm.
sense to bring watermelons in from California or somewhere like that. Apples have pretty much always been grown in Washington. If there was an Alabama apple and you live in Alabama, you probably wouldn't want it because it's just not going to be as good as a
Mhm.
Washington apple. When you buy produce at a farmer's market or a grocery store, it's really coming from the same place. It's not like me, Publix, Kroger, any of us have our own, apple farm where we're growing it. I mean, you're going to be getting it probably from, it's definitely coming from a local farmer somewhere. And just because of transportation cost, the more local the grocer can source it, the better it is for everyone.
That leads me to my next question. I think I've already mentioned this to you, but Zane and I were with a young couple that's about to get married, and they're thinking money, money, money. And they're in a little disagreement because she has been shopping at Aldi and buying lots of produce. And he told her, he said, no, I don't think it's clean. I don't think it's, and I will say, I walk in Aldi sometimes and I'm like, mm, but is it so what you're saying though, Aldi produce is pretty much probably from the same place that Publix or Costco or Trader Joe's, at least in my Aldi in my region?
Yeah, so there are different grades of produce, even though it may be from the same farm. And
Oh,
so there could be like there's produce that looks really pretty, and the produce that looks pretty, very pretty and is top quality. That produce is probably going to end up at a more high end grocer, like a Whole Foods or Publix. Now, you can get some ugly produce typically at an Aldi at a cheaper, location like that. That's a lower grade potentially, not always, but potentially. And are you going to die if you eat it? No, absolutely not. Does it, look as nice sitting in a fruit bowl on your counter? Probably not. Also, one of the things that Aldi does that's different with their produce compared to a lot of people is if you go in an Aldi, a lot of their produce is not on refrigeration. And that's perfectly fine that it's not on refrigeration. It's not going to kill you, but it's probably not going to hold up as long in some instances either.
yeah.
Aldi has fewer items in their store, so the fewer they have, it sells faster. So sometimes it's not really necessary for them to do it, but when you get it home, it may turn faster, may turn bad quicker.
Okay, I do notice that. There is a very small or short refrigerated section. And while we're on Aldi, do you happen to have the inside scoop on Aldi, Trader Joe's? Are they brothers, related? Get like, what's the deal with that?
Yeah, so Aldi was founded by the Albrecht family in Germany, and there was a family disagreement, and so it was divided up into two companies, Aldi Nude and Aldi Sword, and so that's like Aldi North and Aldi South. And so the family took different directions. Now, Trader Joe's was actually founded by a guy named Joe Colum, and Joe sold his to one of the Aldi sold Trader Joe's to one of the Aldi family members, and they continue to operate it under the Trader Joe's name. Trader Joe's and Aldi's are owned by some of the same family members, but they don't share any operational teams or anything like that. So they're operated differently. But you can see the similarities in store size. They're both heavy into private label. They have both have minimal SKU counts, so their assortment smaller. But Trader Joe's tends to cater to more upper income. You'll find those in more upper income areas versus Aldi's is in a lot of different income areas.
Would you buy anything at Aldi? Are you afraid of anything at Aldi?
Personally, would not do that, but I would feel comfortable shopping at Trader Joe's. Absolutely.
So what would you not buy at Aldi?
I mean, anytime you see something that's really cheap, you know, there are things that have to be done to get there, to get to that bottom dollar price point. And I don't know all their practices. I don't know everything that happens there behind closed doors, but I just probably wouldn't shop there.
I just did a huge Aldi haul and I was so pleased with myself. I had organic greenhouse Boston lettuce, lots of things, but in the back of my head, I was still thinking, and just the aura of you're in there and the line is to the back of the store and there's one cashier. And I'm thinking, first of all, is this worth it? I would pay $20 extra to have a normal line. All of us, or I think most of us, have a desire to get a great deal, but we want to make sure that the great deal, we're not compromising quality. And it seems to me that your opinion as an insider, you're compromising a level of quality.
Yeah, I think that, if you're on a budget and there's a Trader Joe's in your area, I would definitely
You mean
opt for
Aldi?
well, I would opt for Trader
Oh,
Joe's
sorry.
over
Sorry.
Aldi.
Okay.
And then also Costco is a great option. They don't have everything, but what they have is usually a good quality and a good price. And so it's a good middle road. I'd feel very comfortable shopping at Costco.
Okay. Now, can you give us the comparison between Costco and Sam's?
Sure. Yeah. So Sam's Club is owned by Walmart. Costco is not owned by anybody. They're their own entity. And Costco is significantly larger than Sam's Club. So you'll find a lot more Costco's throughout the country than you will Sam's Clubs. Costco's products tend to be a little higher quality and a little more curated to upper and middle upper income versus Sam's Club is targeting more of the same customer that Walmart would target on the middle to low income. And so
And
you can just find maybe some different products that high income consumers would want at a Costco that may not be available at a Sam's Club.
okay. And is the meat that is in Walmart the same meat that would be in Sam's, just in a smaller quantity?
A lot of it is the same. Some of the differences, though, is Sam's Club actually cuts some of their meat fresh in the store versus Walmart. They do not cut any meat in their stores. All the meat at Walmart is cut in a central processing facility
Mm,
somewhere and shipped in. So you're not getting the same level of freshness at Walmart that you would find at a locally owned independent supermarket or a place like a Publix or Costco or somewhere like that.
why do you think they don't cut their meat at Walmart?
It's cutting the meat department is one of the most difficult areas in a supermarket to operate. It requires skilled labor, it requires skilled butchers, saws, knives, a lot of equipment, a lot of things
Uh,
going on back there.
mhm. Yeah,
And a lot of and it's hard to do. And with Walmart's scale and their volume, I guess they don't want to take on those operational challenges, but you
mm,
do sacrifice freshness, when you do that. So I
okay.
wouldn't recommend to anybody to buy their meat at Walmart.
Yeah, that's one thing. I don't buy meat at Walmart. I've never felt good about that. So basically, Jerry, and we're all just taking your professional opinion. You wouldn't buy meat at Walmart or Aldi.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now I want to get to Target. What are your, I mean, Target truly has everything,
Mhm.
everything. And they've come out with a new private label, Good and Gather.
Mhm.
And I will tell you, I was there yesterday. I looked at every basil pesto, and they had things like Classico and, Barilla, some of the main ones. Everyone had seed oils, but I looked at Good and Gather, and it had olive oil. I can't remember if it's EVOO. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And their Good and Gather brand has lots of really good tasting products. What do you think is going on there? And what are your thoughts? Like, how do they fit into the grocery world?
you know, with private label in general, usually private label products are typically made at the same factories as the national brand. So if you get, Target's brand of beans, it's probably coming from the same factory as, Bush's baked beans, but the factory will tailor the product to different companies' specs. So Bush's may want, a little more of this in it or a little more sugar or whatever, and Target may opt to have healthier ingredients put in theirs. But they're usually coming. There's not a ton of different places that make it, so there may be like one, two, maybe three different factories in the country that produce the product, and it's up to the retailer, what they want their product to what they want in their products.
Why would a grocer or a retailer like Target, a big box, what is the benefit of having a private label? Do people feel like they're getting generic, or what's the deal with it?
Yeah, so usually, a lot of times when you buy name brand, whether it's in food or clothing or whatever, you're paying for the name to an extent. And so when you get private label, it's usually cheaper and can be the same and sometimes even better quality than the national brand.
Is private label different from generic?
It's the same thing.
Okay.
And a lot of times retailers may have different tiers of private label. They may have a really good one, then they have a middle of the road. It just depends. That way they can give, the shopper, different options.
I will say I went through real grief when my Fresh Market left. I felt like it was everything I ever wanted in a grocer, rolled up. and then nice music. I knew everyone by name, and then they left. Tell us about Fresh Market because it is all over the US, correct?
Yeah, I believe so. It's in a large part of the U.S. for sure.
Do you know, like, their butcher like, their meat, and then every Tuesday, they have the chuck and the chicken for
Mhm.
it was $2.99 a pound, then it went up to $3.99 a pound. Just excellent. Do you know anything about Sprouts and what who owns it and what makes it so exceptional?
Sprouts or Fresh Market?
I'm sorry, Fresh Market.
Yeah, so Fresh Market is private equity owned, and they do have a lot of locations throughout the country. Contrary to popular belief, supermarkets are not making a ton of money and they're not price gouging. So, unfortunately, the location you're referring to just didn't work out for Fresh Market anymore. A lot of grocers throughout the country are having to close locations just because it is a tough time in the industry. Fresh Market, they do provide really fresh, products. It's high quality. I mean, you're definitely paying more for it, but you get a good level of service. You get the fast checkout that you want. Fresh market stores are easy to get in and out of.
Mhm.
They're typically smaller than a Walmart or Kroger or Publix or somewhere like that. There's definitely a lot of advantages to shopping there.
Let's talk about Whole Foods. Whole Foods used to be where you would go if you wanted to not have to read the labels. They would just everything would be, non-inflammatory, or it would be as healthy as you could get. I've seen a shift, and I think it was probably since they were purchased by Amazon.
Mhm.
But I still do love them. They have beautiful produce, beautiful meat and seafood. But tell us about Whole Foods, and was there a shift, and has quality declined at all? Or not just quality, has anything become more mass and less curated since Amazon bought Whole Foods?
Yeah, I think from the time that, Whole Foods was originally founded, out of Texas, and they had a heavy focus on fresh and organic compared to now where it's owned by Amazon. I mean, a lot of things have definitely changed. I know when Amazon first purchased Whole Foods, there were tons of supply chain issues. Their shelves were empty. Price perception was up. I don't think that most people have the same love for Whole Foods today that they once did
Mhm.
when it was originally opened.
Jerry, give us some insider tips and some shopping strategies for I'm just gonna lump all of us into the homemaker, whether it's and you can still have an outside job, but a homemaker, whether male or female, and you buy the groceries, you're concerned about quality, but price and budget. It would be great if you could save.
Sure.
So, what are the best ways, and just give us maybe from top down that we could save money, and I know coupons will be part of that, but I do not have time for that. Most people don't. So
Mhm.
can you tell us other ways, or tell us all the ways?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I would do is I would definitely sign up for your local grocer of choice. Sign up for their email list so you can get their ad emailed to you weekly, and follow them on Facebook. Some are more active than others. I know at Fresh Value, we have a very active Facebook following, and we also email out ads weekly, as well as specials, 3-day sales, truckload sales, things like that. And many other grocers do the same. So, whoever you want to shop with, I would sign up on their social. Also, if you want a one-stop shop for everything, you're going to have a hard time getting fresh and in a budget. So if you've
Mhm.
got a little more time, I know we're all time starved, but if you've got a little more time on your hands and you're willing to put some more effort into it, I would go, somewhere like a Costco to get your staples. Do like a monthly Costco haul to get your paper, your things like that, and buy some meat there when you can. But then I think the best bang for your buck to get fresh meat, fresh produce is definitely with an independent grocer or local butcher shop. So if there's anybody in your town that owns a supermarket, I would shop them first and foremost for meats and produce. And they are usually very competitively priced on dry grocery, but you may save a little bit here and there by going somewhere like a Costco.
That's interesting. I love that. When you see this has always been a source of concern for me, and I'm sure many's as well. When you see a great price, but then you look and there's the orange sticker or the yellow sticker, and it's like you've got 1 day to use it. Sell by, best by, use by. Can you tell? And then I've called the butcher so many times and said, "What does this mean?" And I've gotten different answers. What does that mean for those of us who don't want to get food poisoning?
There are certain products that you can buy reduced or on sale that aren't going to hurt you. And so an expiration date means there's a good chance quality has really broken down or it's going to be bad after a certain date. If it's anything in the dairy department, I definitely would not touch if it's going to be past that date. If it's, meat, depending, I wouldn't do chicken. Pork can
Mhm.
be iffy. Now, if you've got some beef that expired yesterday, it's still in your refrigerator today, as long as it doesn't smell bad, I would definitely eat that. If it started to turn colors, then that's problematic. Or obviously, if it smells bad, you don't want to touch that either. If you get canned goods, it's a month past the date, a bottle of ketchup, went out 2 months
Mhm.
ago, something like that. Those are things that are going to have best buy or used by dates on them. And so, best buy or used by is typically the manufacturer is guaranteeing that the product will be at optimal freshness until that date. And so, if you want optimal freshness, then you would want it before that date. Can you tell a difference? If it expired last week versus, next week or this week or whatever? Probably not. And so I definitely feel comfortable eating canned goods like that. The only time I wouldn't want to eat a canned good past its best by date is if the can has started to swell, or
Mhm.
or if there's a hole in it, or it's lost its vacuum seal, or something like that.
Mhm.
I would be concerned there.
Oh, absolutely.
But we all
Never.
have, probably spices in our cabinets,
Oh, yeah.
condiments, things like that, that are past their date. And, just depending on how budget conscious you are versus wanting the freshest of the fresh,
Yeah.
I think, it's just a choice you have to make, but you're more than likely going to be okay.
Yes, and I think, there's a huge difference in whether something's gonna make you sick versus whether maybe it's, not quite as fresh. Cinnamon is going to be great, even if it's a month or 2, because
Mhm.
it's so strong and it's in baked goods, but when you're dealing with, like you said, a chicken
Mhm.
or even pork, botulism, all of the E. coli. That's where I just tend to say, if in doubt, throw it out. Although I know that can be overkill, but
Yeah,
what?
especially getting into like Thanksgiving, probably a lot of things that you baked with last Thanksgiving, whether it's dark Karo corn syrup or, certain spices, things that you're making, apple pie with or whatever. Like, I mean, there's a good chance that some of that stuff may be a month or two past its best by date. And I would definitely feel comfortable reusing that.
Right, because that's something you probably only use a few times a year. Just tell us give us insight. Where do you and Michaela, where do y'all get your groceries? Like, so Costco for the bulk things that you use a lot of.
Sure. When we're in Birmingham, we're obviously shopping at Fresh Value. When we're at the beach, we prefer to shop at Publix. I think that also one thing that can be good depending on where in Birmingham you are is some Piggly Wigglies do a really good job.
Mm,
But Piggly Wiggly is not all owned by one person. It's a licensing agreement, and so I'm sure if you live in the South, you've probably been in some really great pigs, and then you've probably
mhm.
been in some that you're like, oh my gosh, is this the same company? And
Yeah.
it's really a lot of times it's not the same company; it's different owners. And so if you're in Birmingham metro area, Piggly Wiggly does a great job. You get outside the Birmingham metro area, there's a lot of iffy Piggly Wigglies. You just want to look at it, on a case by case basis when you get to a company like that.
Now, I know the pig is different because you said it's owned by different people. But
Mhm.
let's just take Publix because that's a lot of places. Is Publix going to mirror? the demographic of its location
In
to a
Publix, you'll
degree?
find a more consistent experience. Publix is an ESOP, which is owned by their employees. It's employee owned. A lot of them have stock in the company, and they do a great job of providing the same experience whether you're in Florida, Georgia, or Alabama, or wherever they're at. It's very similar.
I need to talk to you. I need to find the fresh value nearest me because I know you run a tight ship. I know you're not as hands-on anymore, but I do want to find a fresh value. And I find it very interesting that you all are on Facebook and that grocers are on Facebook, but I guess it makes sense because I mean, I'm on Instagram. I don't get on Facebook really, but what goes on your Facebook? Do people talk about what they bought and what they're making, or what does that look like?
Yeah, particularly if you're budget conscious and you're looking for a deal, our Facebook page is a great place to be because we're constantly putting out, various 3-day sales, or if we get, a fresh truckload of, peaches seasonally or whatever, we're keeping the community updated on what they can expect and what's new, what's exciting, and just, educating them on how to have the best shopping experience when they're in our stores.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And there's one more thing I want to ask you, and I know you've got to go, but Kroger, we have a Kroger delivery now. And I know I thought that my neighbor, I thought her husband had maybe had a heart attack or something because there was a light at 4 a.m. and it was blinking. And I texted her and I said, is John Doe okay? But I waited till it was like 8. She says, "Oh no, that was Kroger delivery. They deliver as early as 4 a.m." And I'm like, "Oh my goodness." And she said, "Everything's great, but you just can't go to the store." I don't guess.
Mhm.
What's that about? That's an interesting concept.
Yeah, so Kroger, although they don't have any retail locations in the Birmingham area, they do have a warehouse facility where you can order your groceries online and it's delivered from their warehouse. But obviously, you can't go there, you can't pick it up. They've closed several locations throughout the country like that. It was an innovative idea at the time, but I'm not sure how successful it is for them today.
Okay. Well, Jerry, do you have this has been so informative. Do you have any tidbit of wisdom or insight or tip that I have not asked you before we sign off? Anything to the homemakers of America to help them with their groceries, especially as the holiday season comes?
I'll just leave you with this. I would say shop your local independent supermarket for the best quality, the best experience. They care, they're there, and they want to serve you.
I love that. I love that so much, Jerry. And thank you. Thank you so much for being on. I appreciate you. And I appreciate all of you who were watching or listening. And until next time, you all have a fabulous rest of your day. Hi, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the SavvyCast. If you'll take the time to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes, that would mean so much. As always, thank you for listening and have a blessed day.